everybody. My name is Halley. I'm from LiquidNet, and I'm here to talk to you today about the role of visual artifacts in Agile. We had a small but vigorously participating group, and I tried a couple of Agile techniques in the facilitation of the open session. We started out by doing a silent brainstorming where everybody in the group wrote down something they'd like to talk about, and we created a backlog. And as we went through a very sort of free-form conversation, we kept checking in with our backlog and moving things to on deck. And we lost a couple people, and their things fell out of the backlog because they weren't there to represent them. So we got through a good percentage of things that we wanted to talk about. So let me go through what we discussed. As we were going through, we tried to kind of focus on some topics. Some of the challenges that we talked about were mock-ups evolve, and so if you don't have a good, clear representation of the design of the product as you're moving forward, it's very difficult for other groups like QA to stay in sync. So if somebody decides to make a change in the product, QA downstream can be testing the wrong thing. That's a challenge. Another challenge is it's hard to understand when a decision about a functional aspect of the product has a big impact on the way that the user interface is going to behave. And so communication with visual artifacts helps the team understand whether this is going to be an easy change or a hard change, and then make decisions about trade-offs as a result of that. Another challenge that people mentioned is that marketing or someone else is going to go directly to the developers and say, oh, can you change this for me? And that isn't visible to the whole team when one person on the team is just making a change in the code. Having some kind of persistent visual artifacts like a wireframe or mock-ups or sketches helps the whole team remember and recognize when changes are being made. And then another challenge that was mentioned was going to code too soon, failing to visualize and validate the user experience of the product. So that's the sad stuff. Let's get happy. So a lot of stuff was working for our group. So we heard stories about a part-time user experience person who actually is embedded to this team, and the roles of this person is to create a UI specification with screenshots and actions specified and keep that up to date throughout the project. Visual artifacts help the whole team work on the same concept. One thing we were discussing was a big challenge, kind of building off the Agile failure talk we heard, is when teams are not necessarily understanding the business objectives and aren't all sharing the same concept. And we felt that visual artifacts really helped the team understand that they were all working on the same thing. Communication was improved by having a user experience designer attend stand-ups. So instead of having designers as a separate process that never really participated, bringing them in, having them attend stand-ups was seen as something that was working. Working on the fly to visualize changes. You don't always have to keep your wireframe up to date. You can just take a printout of something and tape it up on the wall and scribble over it, and that's good enough. We talked a lot about information radiators for two levels of information. One is for project objectives. For example, what is the mission? What's the scope? What are the dependencies? What are the success factors? So keeping the team really focused with visual information radiators about the objectives of the project. And then we also talked about using it for user research issues, like who are we talking to? Who have we validated things with? What are the themes or the questions that we're asking in our research so that people can have visibility and feedback to that? And then I'm going to gloss over these next two because I want to get to this stuff before I run out of time. We ran into a very detailed conversation about the benefits of working at high fidelity and low fidelity. So when working, we came to the consensus that both of these are extremely valuable methods, and there is no one answer. You can work at high fidelity or low fidelity depending on your case. The benefits of low fidelity are that people feel comfortable messing with it, changing it. It's technology agnostic. It's generally better at the early stages of concept exploration. The observer who's working with a low fidelity concept can project or imagine into it and get you to ideas that you didn't even have at the beginning. And it's easier for subject matter expert to review than an end user. A risk, of course, is that someone can dismiss the quality of your idea if they're incapable of imagining or visualizing the experience of something that's in low fidelity. And then on the high fidelity end, high fidelity concepts feel very real. They can incorporate visual design. They can be more specific about technology and behavior. And the risk is that if you're going to invest the energy in creating a high-fidelity concept, it should be capable in the technology you're building in, or it's a wasted effort. And sort of in contrast, in a low fidelity where the observer can project or imagine, in a high fidelity, the observer is responding to the concept. Do I have one more minute?
Quickly.
Okay. Last reveal. Three ideas we talked about that you can practice with your teams are a concept called product box, where you actually get a cardboard box and you draw the box that your product would come in, and it helps you get to the headline for what your product is good for. That's a collaborative exercise. Design Studio, which is a kind of collaborative sketching where you set the context and people draw and then share their drawings. And then thinking of your scenarios as emergent stories that provide context for the whole group. Thank you very much.